Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
All right, guys, my name is David Menjura, and today we have another episode of the Transform Sales Podcast, Sales Software Review, and our guest today is Carissa. She is a sales executive of BuddyPunch, and today we're going to speak about how small business owners can maximize the use of this tool. Welcome to the show, Carissa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Carissa, let's jump right to it. What is the name of the software product that you want to share with us today?
Yes, I'm with BuddyPunch.
Great. And what does the software do? Can you tell us a little bit more of what you guys help your ideal buyer achieve?
Yeah, definitely. So BuddyPunch is a time tracking software. Essentially, we just help business owners collect hours from the employees, as well as just ensure that the hours worked are true through some accountability features.
Got it. And what category do you guys fall into at the moment?
We're a time tracking software.
Time tracking? Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And who is your ideal customer of your software product at the moment? I know you mentioned a couple, but we're going to focus today on small business shops. But who else within the operation can maximize the use of this tool?
Yeah, definitely. So honestly, that's kind of a tricky question. We can work with pretty much any type of business who needs to track hours worked for their employees. We have a lot of companies who are in the field who have GPS tracking and other features that help with accountability. Today, we're going to be focusing more on office settings. So companies who have employees actually coming into the office and they want to make sure that when the employee is punching in, they're actually punching in when they're physically at the office versus at home.
Got it.
Yeah, so companies like that really like our kiosk mode, IP address locks, PTO tracking, features like that.
Got it. So this is a tool that will be used for somebody that's in the office setting, but also somebody that's remote, right? There's no disadvantage of either or. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We have some people who are tracking employees who are working from home and they're just punching in and out. We have companies who their employees are out in the field. We have companies who are in an office setting. So overall, we're just helping very simply employers collect hours so that they can pay their employees. And again, just making sure that those hours being worked are true.
Got it. I remember when I used to work at a company, I also had like a tracking software to make sure that I was able to document the timing I was performing. And I found it a quick difficult to making sure that I was always at my spot because it was always like a 10-minute mark. So it's interesting to see how this software kind of differentiates on how the tracking works. So definitely very excited. But I wanted to ask you, what does your software help users do that they couldn't do before your software existed?
Yeah, good question. So a lot of people are coming to us and they're saying either they've been using a physical time clock where people are punching in and out. They're having to take all of these different paper time cards that have scratches on them, changes, and they're having to manually add in all of the hours one by one every day, which is causing just a lot of mistakes. And it's also really easy for people to say, hey, I'm running late, texting their friend and having their friend actually punch in for them.
Got it.
So we're just preventing time theft and just making it really easy for employers to be able to run payroll with those hours.
Nice. Actually, that's sick because I believe the part of the situation that I experienced was seeing those behaviors. So sometimes, you as the person that's getting hired and seeing those behaviors, it can kind of be alarming, right? So I think this is something positive for sure for the person to obviously get paid what they performed, and for the people to keep track of, what's measurable, which is the time. But that's great. In this case, how should users measure success with your software platform or product?
Yeah. So the first way would just be simply time savings. I mean, a lot of people are spending hours and hours adding up all of this information, manually typing in the hours one by one. So that's kind of the easy one would be time savings. But I think personally, the most impactful aspect would be employers, seeing how much they've been overpaying their employees. So when you go in and people are saying, oh, I worked 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and then you implement a system like this where they have to actually be there to physically punch in and out, and you see, okay, this person's
Got it.
actually consistently punching in at 9 o'clock, so I've been overpaying an hour every single day. It's pretty crazy, actually, to see the impact that it has.
Yeah, I guess it reviews a lot of data most of us don't want to see, right? And sometimes
Exactly.
that's where the money's at, right? Sometimes people are getting overpaid, companies are losing money, and they can actually use that budget for other things and like skill development, training, or other tools to make their job a lot easier, right? So I feel
Mhm.
like you're definitely adding a lot of value because you're helping people distribute the budget they have, of course, for employment, but also for them to use it or other things to definitely stand out, right? As a company, as individual candidates, right? So this is the most exciting part. Of course, this all sounds like something very positive and something very useful for those companies that are looking to track this information. For those that are not working on a project-based model, but instead, doing calls, you're doing customer support, customer success activities. But we definitely are very excited, and we want to see how the platform works. So if you can walk us through um, how you can demo this software and explain to us how a person, which the main topic here is small business owner shops, can definitely get the best use of this platform, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to start off. There's a couple of different ways that you can use BuddyPunch. You can use us on an app using our kiosk mode. We have an app that employees can download on their mobile device. You can also access us on the computer. So I'm going to firstly cover just how the majority of office-based businesses utilize us, which would be through this kiosk mode. So essentially, the employee would enter the office, they would enter their 4-digit PIN that's unique to them. I have my account set up to where it's actually going to take a photo of me as I punch in and out. That way you can verify it was actually me and not my coworker punching in for me.
Yeah.
We do have a scheduling aspect, which is really, really helpful to be able to restrict when people can punch in and out, as well as just run data against who was early, who was late, who was absent. So I'm going to punch into this shift, for example. There's essentially 3 different layers that you can use for tracking, and this really helps with job costing as well. All I would do as the employee is hit punch in. Every 5 seconds, the page would refresh so that the person behind me can punch in.
Got it.
So this would be one way to utilize the system. With this, a lot of employers would put a device lock on the device. That way, I can't go to my cell phone and punch in even if I'm not actually there.
Mhm.
And then I'll go ahead and go back to the main screen and actually log into an employee account. So I'm already logged into this shift. I can take breaks. I can switch from one job to the other. I could punch out at the end of the day. As the employee, I can view my time card for the pay period. I can put in any edits. There's different user levels that you have. So my account is set up to where I can make any edits to my time card. Those would go to my manager to approve or deny. You can also give employees full edit access or 0 edit access. But this is just going to show all of the hours worked for the pay period. And then I also have a time off summary. So a lot of times we hear that people are emailing in asking what their holiday balance is, asking if they can take time off. This is just going to streamline that.
Got it.
So I have my different balances in here. And then as the employee, I would just hit add time off. I can select like a sick day, for example, and then submit that. And that would go to my manager to approve or deny as well.
Got it. Does it also let you attach, like, add any attachments in order to justify the sick leave?
So you can put in whatever notes you would like, not
Oh,
necessarily an attachment.
okay. Got it. And my other question that I had is it also possible for the candidate to dispute, like something that went on and have the manager approve it as well?
In terms of their hours worked?
Yeah. Like there's something that maybe something was off with the system and the person was actually there. Do you guys have a system to dispute in this specific scenario?
Yeah, so they would be able to make edits to their time card and leave any notes with the edit.
Got it.
The funny thing is people will say, oh, I was at the office and I tried to punch in, but it didn't let me. And the admin can actually run an employee error log report, which would show what errors were made. So sometimes people will have a geofence, which is like a circle around the office space. You can't punch in or out unless you're within that circle. And someone will say, I was there, I tried to punch in, and it shows where they were, and you can see that they were at home. So a lot of times you would want to check that before just believing it, but the employee can make edits and leave notes.
Got it. Awesome.
The last thing that the employee would have access to is the schedule. My account is set up to where I can see everybody's schedule at the company. You can restrict it. So if you only want them to see their department, for example, you can. Scheduling typically with like an office-based business is pretty straightforward. You do have the option to allow for trades and covers. If I'm sick and I needed someone to cover for me, I could put that request in through the system just to streamline it. But I'll show you the reports on the admin side, which is where this really becomes helpful.
Awesome.
Perfect. Any other questions on the employee side and how they punch in?
No, so far everything is clear. I got it. And I hope those that are watching are definitely getting a value of what Carissa's sharing us, and maybe a value of what you guys currently use, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and log into the admin side now.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 3 user levels. There's an employee, a manager, and an admin. The difference between a manager and an admin is the admin has access to these account settings, and the admin can add employees. So a lot of companies will have a manager who's assigned, say, 10 employees. They can approve time for those 10 employees, create schedules, all of that, and then not view anyone else. So on this dashboard, you can see who's currently punched in. If you do have GPS enabled, you'd be able to see on the map view where the employees were when they punched in. You can see who's currently on the schedule for the day, and then anything that's pending approval. So punches that have edits on them, time off requests, time cards at the end of the pay period can all be viewed here.
Awesome. No, it has like its own cockpit to pretty much manage the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have one question. So, for example, I'm a business owner and I have 4 managers. Each manager has 4 people, right? Those reports allows you to measure what team had the best attendance rate, and then based on that, be able to, do some sort of incentives. So I just kind of want to see how those kind of reporting looks like, so that it gives you a visual of who's performing best, who's more on time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of different reports that you can run. You're kind of speaking of a scheduling report with early and late data as well as absent data. So
Correct.
I go to an early and late report. We have 3 layers of tracking. So when I punched in originally, you saw that I punched into the high school flooring project as the assistant. These can be used in any way that the customer needs to. So some people will use it in the way that I used it. Some people will use it as like crews or teams, things like that. So if you wanted to see my team individually, you could have a location that's my team. So I'm just going to say cafe, for example. Actually, let's do high school because I have more data there. So I can run a report, let's say just starting in June up until now. I can run it with all employees. I can select certain employees. I can do it by location. And then this is going to show you, okay, for this shift, I was supposed to start at 8 o'clock and I punched in at 9:18. I was an hour and 18 minutes late. This shift, I punched in an hour and 18 minutes early. It'll have all of the totals at the bottom. There's a ton of data here, and all of these reports can be exported to Excel or CSV as well.
Got it. And my question is there a way that, for example, if me as an employer, I got there late, let's say 10 times, right? Does it
Mhm.
also triggers like some sort of warnings for somebody to be on the lookout for those behaviors? How does that work?
Yeah, definitely. So under the settings, there's a lot that you can customize as well as restrict. So you would want to set up, in that case, alerts and reminders. So a missed in alert is kind of along the lines of what you're talking about. So if I was scheduled to come in at 8 o'clock and maybe it's 8:15 and I haven't punched in yet, you can send an alert to myself, my manager, as well as the administrator, either via email and or via push notification on our app.
Got it. Got it. Because I remember I used a software similar to this one. I don't remember exactly the name, and you will never get notifications. So it doesn't give you that extra layer of awareness. Like you're messing it up.
Right.
You happen to land at the job and try to justify it, right? But it
Hmm.
doesn't keep the person informed. So that I don't know. I just figure like when you get notifications, it holds you more accountable of either it was a mistake or something good you did. So I found it very interesting. Found it very
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely. Yeah, and when you're managing, a handful of people, it's hard to keep track of them. So
Yeah.
definitely helpful there. And there's a lot of alerts that you can set up. So a lot of people love our overtime alert. So they know if employees are going past 40 hours, or even like Nevada has specific overtime rules. So you can kind of specify it to the specific business, but alerts to punch in and out of breaks, stuff like that. Super helpful.
Got it. And I wanted to ask you a question, Carissa. Like, in terms of your competitors, what makes you different from like few of the competitors that you're aware of?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to be honest, there's probably 300 plus time tracking softwares out there.
Mhm.
I would say what sets us apart would be the ease of use. I hear all the time that people are looking at competitors and it's going to take them 6 weeks to get up and running. With us, we have a 14-day free trial. So you create the account, you set up the restrictions that you want. So whether that be like only allowing someone to punch in on a kiosk or setting up a geofence. All they need to do is add employees and they're ready to go.
Got
So a
it.
lot of people will be up and running within 48 hours with us. And another huge thing that I think sets us apart is just the accountability features and being able to ensure, okay, this person punched in. You don't even have to think about if they were actually at the office because they wouldn't be able to punch in if they were.
Because I think about it as a silly situation. Let's say you guys have, let's say, 30 minutes of gym time, right? And if you miss your gym time, you're getting notifications. Everybody's there except you. And then, if that becomes the case, right? Um,
Mhm.
But no, I think this is great. I like it. I like the accountability feature, of course. And regarding what you're saying about the competitors, I feel like this is a tool that previously was usually only managed by finance. But I feel like if you're a business owner, you have a small shop, you can easily download this tool and be able to cover that without having somebody in finance in your team, and you still get
Mhm.
similar results, right? So I think this is great for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of smaller businesses are kind of intimidated at the thought of using a software because they've been using pen and paper for the last 30 years. But really, I mean, this solution's really, really easy to use. And like at the end of the pay period, instead of having to manually add up all of those hours, they would come into their reports and run a payroll export. And this is going to be an Excel sheet that looks something like this, that would actually give them the totals for the pay period. So they don't have to do the math, they don't have to think about it. They can either just upload that in their payroll system or send it to their CPA, however they need to get that data over.
Or if they want to get creative, they can use like the pivot tables and run the reporting with the same Excel sheet, right? There's a few of those. Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, Carissa, I do appreciate your time on this session.
Of
This was
course.
definitely great for those that are small business owners, um, or business owners that are managing a small shop. This will be a great tool to consider. We are going to leave the link in the description of this podcast. So if you are considering or using your time to look for this kind of tools, this will be a great place to start. As you guys saw, is a very easy to use platform, and you also have the support from Carissa if you have any questions.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.